Brent Hinds has never been a musician to follow the rules. From his wild, jaw-dropping guitar solos to his eccentric personality offstage, he has built a reputation as someone who says exactly what's on his mind, no matter how shocking or unexpected it might be. Mastodon fans know him as a creative genius, but also as a man who thrives on unpredictability, and that unpredictability was on full display during a recent podcast interview that instantly went viral among rock and metal communities. In the middle of a conversation about the struggles, frustrations, and absurdities of being in a band, Brent did something nobody saw coming. Out of nowhere, he yelled, "Ozzy Osbourne forever." It wasn't framed as a joke, a throwaway line, or a reference to anything in particular. It simply exploded into the conversation, leaving listeners momentarily speechless. Some laughed, some were confused, and fans immediately began dissecting every possible meaning behind it. Was it admiration, sarcasm, or just pure Brent Hinds chaos? Whatever it was, it had the impact of a lightning bolt, sudden, intense, and impossible to ignore. The reaction online was immediate. Reddit threads popped up analyzing the statement word by word. Fans speculated whether this was a nod to Osbourne's legendary influence on rock music or simply a bizarre moment that only Brent could pull off. The phrase became a meme in some corners of the internet, and discussions erupted across forums and fan pages. People couldn't stop talking about it, not just because of what he said, but because of how he said it, with that signature mix of irreverence, honesty, and raw personality that has defined his career. What made it even more fascinating was the context. Brent was talking about the pressures of performing, writing, and staying creative in a band like Mastodon, which has always been both groundbreaking and notoriously demanding. The sudden, heartfelt, and slightly chaotic shout-out to Ozzy Osbourne seemed almost like an emotional release, a rare glimpse into the private admiration he holds for a true rock icon. And yet, true to Brent's style, it was delivered in a way that felt entirely off the cuff, leaving fans wondering, was this a genuine tribute, a sarcastic jab, or something else entirely? And just when you thought that was the whole story, the layers behind that single, shocking line go even deeper. To really understand why Brent Hinds' sudden shout-out to Ozzy Osbourne shocked so many fans, you have to look at the context in which it happened. The podcast wasn't about Ozzy at all, it was a deep dive into Brent's experiences in Mastodon, a band he co-founded and helped propel to international fame. He spoke candidly about the creative tensions, the grueling tours, and the personal sacrifices required to keep the band at the top of its game. Every word reflected the honesty and bluntness that fans have come to expect from him. It was during this candid, sometimes bitter conversation that the "Ozzy Osbourne forever" line dropped. On the surface, it seemed completely unrelated. A sudden pivot in the middle of a story about band politics, artistic struggles, and the pressure to constantly innovate. But for fans paying close attention, the line made perfect sense in a way only Brent could deliver. He was juxtaposing his frustrations with Mastodon against the enduring influence of a rock legend who's navigated decades of fame, controversy, and personal struggles with a unique blend of style and resilience. Ozzy Osbourne is an icon who has survived the wildest ups and downs of rock history, and in a split second, Brent reminded everyone of that, almost like saying, "This is why we do it, this is what real legends do." But the statement wasn't just a tribute, it was quintessential Brent Hinds chaos. Fans noted the sheer randomness of it, how he could go from expressing exasperation about his own band to shouting reverence for one of the biggest names in rock history without missing a beat. It's this unpredictability that makes him so magnetic. You never know if the next line will make you laugh, shock you, or leave you pondering his deeper meaning for days. What made it even more fascinating was how it reflected Brent's relationship with heavy metal itself. He has openly admitted in past interviews that he has a complicated love-hate relationship with the genre, sometimes mocking its tropes while simultaneously creating some of the most innovative metal music of his generation. By shouting out Ozzy in the middle of a discussion about Mastodon's internal struggles, Brent was blending admiration with irony, reverence with his signature irreverence, and frustration with a touch of nostalgia. And as fans continued to dissect it online, one thing became clear: this wasn't just a random outburst. There was a story behind the words, a glimpse into Brent's mind, and a connection to a musical legacy that spans decades. But the reactions didn't stop there. What happened next would fuel discussions across the entire Mastodon fanbase. The moment Brent Hinds shouted "Ozzy Osbourne forever" didn't just linger in the podcast, it exploded online almost instantly. Fans scrambled to clip the moment, post it on forums, and debate its meaning. On Reddit, threads popped up analyzing every nuance of the statement. Some argued it was a heartfelt tribute to a rock god who paved the way for artists like Brent, while others saw it as pure chaos, a perfect example of his unpredictable personality. Comments ranged from laughter to outright disbelief. "Classic Brent," one fan wrote. "He just went full Ozzy out of nowhere," while another insisted, "This is a legend's homage wrapped in madness." Social media platforms lit up with memes, screenshots, and even reaction videos. Fans dissected his tone, the timing, and the sudden energy shift mid-conversation. It was unusual for someone to pivot from frustration about their own band to an enthusiastic, almost random celebration of a music icon, and that unpredictability is exactly what made it so shareable. Within hours, clips of the podcast were circulating across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, generating thousands of comments and sparking debates on rock forums worldwide. Musicians and peers in the industry also chimed in, some praising Brent's honesty, while others laughed at the sheer randomness. A few notable metal artists even shared the clip, highlighting it as an example of Brent's irreverent genius. The discussions weren't just about what he said, they were about how he said it, his timing, and the energy behind those few explosive words. For fans, it became more than a quote, it was a moment that perfectly encapsulated Brent Hinds' unique persona: fearless, unpredictable, and completely unapologetic. And yet, while the internet buzzed with excitement and confusion, there was more to this moment than just memes and fan debates. The story behind Brent's words revealed a deeper connection to rock history and the influence of one of the genre's most iconic figures, Ozzy Osbourne. Next, we'll explore why Brent's shout-out makes sense when you look at Ozzy's impact on rock and metal and why fans should pay attention. Brent's sudden shout-out isn't just random chaos, it makes sense when you consider Ozzy Osbourne's massive impact on rock and metal. Ozzy didn't just survive decades of fame, controversy, and wild lifestyle choices, he shaped the sound and attitude of heavy music for generations. For someone like Brent, who's constantly pushing creative boundaries while navigating the pressures of a successful band, Ozzy represents resilience, rebellion, and raw authenticity. Mastodon has even paid tribute to Black Sabbath in their live shows, covering songs like Supernaut, showing that Ozzy's influence runs deep. So when Brent yelled "Ozzy Osbourne forever," it wasn't just a shout-out, it was a nod to a legend who paved the way for musicians like him. A brief but powerful acknowledgement of the rock lineage he's part of. And just when you think you understand it, the reactions and interpretations fans have made it even more fascinating. After Brent's explosive shout-out, fans couldn't stop speculating about what he really meant. Some believe it was pure admiration, a spontaneous tribute to the Prince of Darkness who inspired countless musicians. Others argue it was classic Brent chaos, a sarcastic, off-the-cuff remark meant to shock and entertain. A few fans even suggest it reflects his complicated relationship with heavy metal itself. He's built a career in the genre while simultaneously mocking some of its cliches. Reddit threads and fan forums were flooded with interpretations. Every gesture, tone, and pause was analyzed, with users debating whether this shout-out hinted at deeper respect for Ozzy's legacy or was just Brent being unpredictably himself. The ambiguity is what makes it so fascinating. A single, short phrase sparked endless conversation and kept fans coming back, dissecting every nuance for weeks. And just when you think the story has reached its peak, the final truth about Brent's homage is even more revealing. Brent Hinds' sudden shout-out to Ozzy Osbourne is more than just a funny or shocking moment, it's a glimpse into the mind of a musician unafraid to mix chaos with admiration. It reminds fans that behind the unpredictable persona, there's respect for the legends who shaped the world he thrives in. Ozzy's influence on rock and metal is undeniable, and Brent's brief, explosive tribute connects the past and present of the genre in a way only someone like him could pull off. Moments like this also show why Brent continues to captivate fans worldwide. He's unpredictable, bold, and raw, yet deeply aware of the giants on whose shoulders he stands. That single, shouted line may have been unexpected, but it's a reminder that rock history isn't just about music, it's about the personalities, the reverence, and the moments that spark conversation for years. For fans, it's a moment to remember. For Brent, it's just another day being unapologetically himself. But what did Brent really mean? Share your thoughts. Do you think this was respect, sarcasm, or pure Brent madness? Comment what you think.